Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Downloadable Cast. My name is Gerard Khalil. I am the completionist, and my partner to
Greg Wilmot. I do things and stuff with things. Mainly on the internet, sometimes not on the internet. But this is the show, and it's the first show, not the second one, no matter what anybody tells you.
Nope, it's the first one. Only the first one, not the second one. This is a video podcast in which we talk about topics that matter to us today in regards to the gaming industry. So today's topic of choice, is it the end of portable gaming? We're going to talk about it. What's going to change?
Or is it just the beginning?
Is it? I don't know. I don't know if that works. Our chat moderator for today on the call with us is Soa. Say hello, Soa.
Hey guys.
It's a nice hello. Thank you, Soa.
Now I'm having Soa.
Alright guys, so our topic of choice that I chose today is it the end of portable gaming? Essentially what's happened in the past few years with portable gaming is that it's become a means of entertainment and not games anymore. In my opinion, we've had the evolution of the Game Boy, or it started out with the Game & Watch, the original Game & Watch, which we saw at E3, and it was it was basically a prototype DS. And then it went to the Game Boy, and then the many different versions of the Game Boy, Color, Pocket, Micro, Mini, into...
Which, let me just say, so awesome how they did that.
Definitely.
Because it was very different from... At least, I feel like it was very different from the way that the DS is now. The DS, it feels like you're getting the same thing again, but it's a little different. But for some reason back then, you know, you had the big Game Boy, which was fun as hell. And then you had the Game Boy Pocket, which was even smaller, so you could actually take it with you somewhere. And then
there was there was the Mini, right, or the Micro, or it was literally like
that was after Color.
Oh, was it?
That was after Color, I believe. I think so.
And I was that kind of kid that was convinced that even if it was a matter of the system being like a newer version of it, I still thought it was a new system altogether, so I still bought it. I traded in my old Game Boy to get that Game Boy Color, or the next version up, which was still the exact same thing, just smaller.
Even though it was the exact same thing, just the way they redesigned it, they made it feel like an entirely new system.
Yeah, and
what was so cool about it.
And I had no problem begging my parents to get it. This was like, I need to have that.
and if you saw somebody playing a Game Boy Pocket instead of the regular Game Boy, you'd know. But today, you see somebody playing a PSP, and it's like, is that the old one or is that the Vita? I don't know.
Is
they
it
look
the
the
fat
same.
or is it the slim?
Right. They look very similar.
They do. The main question is why do we ask, is it the end of portable gaming? It's because while gaming has portable gaming has used to be a big powerful powerhouse for. I mean, I don't know about you, but
powerful powerhouse.
Powerful powerhouse. It's
like those words, Gerard.
It's a triple point bonus. Powerful powerhouse. It's the I think that with the evolution of the Game Boy, we've gone from great games into better games into games that were about innovation, changing how we used to play games. Whether it's 2 screens, or a brighter screen, or a portable Super Nintendo in our hands almost, to even turning into touch mechanics, to taking pictures of things, to now connecting to the internet and watching Netflix all in the palm of your hand. And
the funny thing about when it all first came out is, yeah, graphics were a big deal, but if you think back to the Game Gear, that had incredible graphics for the time, but it was giant. But I mean,
huge.
It wasn't all about better graphics, better graphics. They released so much good content, Everybody played Pokemans. That was out on the Game Boy. All the Super Mario games that were on there too.
Dude, the Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy was one of the best platformers I've ever played. Incredibly underrated, and it was on that old gigantic Game Boy that's in the middle of our topic right now that you see on the stream in the video.
Tetris.
Tetris.
Iconic game.
It's so iconic. I was talking to Igor Raptor about Tetris the other day, and he was saying that just to think about Tetris as that game of consistent changing conflict. It's the most complicated game of all time, but it's so simplistic in that sense, and that it's always changing. I love the idea of that. That's how it is.
And it's all Russian-y, too.
All dat Russian.
One thing that I wanted to say is, as we're moving along with things getting cooler, then you get to the touchscreens, and then if you're playing on like an iPhone or something, there's no controls, which I feel is a huge setback.
Yeah.
Which I feel like Sony they're trying to, because they're going to HTC now, is that what they said at E3?
Yeah.
To develop a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that will have controls and stuff. But I feel like that's something that's kind of killing portable gaming because you just get so dang frustrated with the touchscreen.
Well, I think the biggest problem for me is with portable gaming is that it's like, all right, I got my DS, I had my DS, my regular DS, my DS Lite, my DSi, my DSi XL, my 3DS, my PSP, my PSP Slim, my PS Vita, and now what's really destroying portable gaming in regards to sales is this right here. The iPhone and the iPod Touch. It has created a new type of gamer, and it's created a huge hole in the market for a lot of these big companies. And we're going to go ahead and talk about those numbers real quick, just to give you guys a little more insight onto what these numbers really mean. So,
before you get into the numbers real quick,
mm-hmm.
I think it's a good point to bring up that with the smartphones, applications have come along where you download it, you use it once, and then you get rid of it all in the span of like 35 seconds. And that's the way games are treated too on there, except for like a few, like Draw Something. A lot of people play it. Even that, it came in real fast and it's kind of dying
Yeah,
now.
it went out
or
right
it's
away.
with friends, it's the same thing. There's no longevity because everything is just so quick and fast with smartphones.
And I'll tell you what, with my iPhone especially, I have been that gamer that's bought the Secret of Mana remake, the Mega Man X remake, or the port rather, the Mega Man port, Dead Rising port. I've bought the Street Fighter. I bought the official games thinking that they were going to be a little more because they were from the game developers that we've all grown up to love in these franchises, and they're just as bad, in my opinion, as the Angry Birds and the other kind of games that were only $1 or free.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of game companies coming out not for the sake of creating a cool game or to get people involved or to get into the storyline, but it's to make a quick buck.
Exactly.
There's so many companies out there that are just like, all right, we're going to make thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars just by this little thing that they're all going to play once, and then we have to move on to the next thing.
I mean, and even the whole mention of the iPad. Essentially, now if you look at the iPad, it's gigantic Game Boy in a way, and what they're advertising it as. It does everything plus more.
The iPad, it does everything, kind of, but not really. It does a lot of things that you probably don't want to do.
But your kids will love it. Your kids will love it. These are some true numbers right here I have through the interwebs. Now these numbers are representative of everything up until the fiscal quarter of this year of March 31st. So this isn't including today's or yesterday's or months past. Up until March 31st, these are the numbers. So the total amount of Nintendo DS's sold in a conglomeration of all their versions. That includes the regular DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, the DSi XL. They have sold a total of 151 million units worldwide. That's a pretty big number, considering how long ago the Nintendo DS came out? What, 6 years ago? 7 years ago? And it's still selling. That's the crazy part, is that even though they're fading it out, it's still selling games, and they're games and consoles every month. And it's sometimes even outsells the 3DS in comparison, which blows my mind.
Not everybody wants 3D. It's a fad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fad, just like it was in the 50s, folks. 3D came out so long ago, and people were like, hey, that's awesome, and then they forgot about it. and it should have stayed dead
I agree.
until it's like really cool, because it's not really cool. Or at least I don't think it is.
Nintendo tried with
That's
with
my
the
opinion.
they tried to come back with the Virtual Boy, the weird reddish 3D kind of attempt that failed horribly. Surprisingly enough, the PlayStation Portable, in comparison up to this point, has sold a little more than 72 million. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, considering that they haven't really changed it too much. Now that is not including. I just realized it's not including PSP Go sales, which, for those of you that don't know, the PSP Go.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that completely.
exactly. Which I kind of feel like they did a bad job marketing it. You know, because
You mean not at all?
I mean,
Here's what the PSP Go should have been. That should have been the first PSP.
exactly.
Because it should have had downloadable games like that, but it didn't exist at the time.
Yeah.
Well, it may have existed, but it wasn't nearly as mainstream as it is now to just quickly download something.
I will admit that's the one thing I do love about the PlayStation Sync system is that everything's tied together. So if you buy something on your PSN and it's playable on your PSP, boom, you can just transfer it over. Your Vita, the same thing. I think that's one thing that I always admired about Sony that they got right, was that everything was kind of integratable. But
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's something Valve does well.
Incredibly well.
I think they're probably top of the market when it comes to that.
Yeah. The Nintendo 3DS sales total so far, we're looking at 17.13 million as of March of this year, March 31st, which is you have to look in comparison as for a launching platform. And I think the reason why it not only is not doing well because of its 3D capabilities is because it's too much like a DS.
The only thing new that it brought to the table was the 3D. And, there's not a lot of people who want that.
Yeah, and I mean, I give them credit, but this kind of, you kind of said this earlier about with Sony, was that with the 3DS, mine's right here, they integrated the menu system layout, downloading games, applications, that kind of thing, definitely was fantastic about the 3DS. I really enjoyed it. The problem was, like Sony, they could have brought these things a little quicker when they originally created the DS. And a lot of that, too, was based on what was popular in the industry at the time,
I think something that really hurt the 3DS is launch titles.
Immediately from the get-go.
When it came out, it's like, how many games could you get for it that were actually in 3D that used the system?
I mean, all of them were 3D, but it was a matter of like what really looked good, what handled well, and what really made me want to buy a 3DS. Most gamers, I may be wrong by saying this, most people...
You probably are when you make generalizations like that.
I know. Most people who bought a 3DS bought it because of Ocarina of Time, Star Fox 64. Some waited for Mario Kart 7, and others waited for Mario Land 3D. And
you know what? I'll agree with you on that. I'm sure a lot of people did do that.
yeah, I waited to buy my I love this. I waited to buy my 3DS, and 3 weeks later they docked the price. I was so upset. I mean, and the ambassador program was great and everything, but I had friends that bought their 3DS the week that it price dropped, and they were still good for the ambassador program. So they got a 3DS for $180 plus all of the free games for the ambassador program. So I feel like I got really ripped off there.
I think this is also going back to we did a test podcast where we were talking about Nintendo being slightly out of touch with what people want.
Yes, thinking that someone would spend $250 on a console right away on a portable nonetheless with no launch title is kind of ludicrous. Now they did it once before with the DS, which it worked. Granted, it worked. Second time around, it's not going to work, considering that you still have your old console on the market and majority of your third-party developers are still making games for that console. So you kind of have to consider the market's not ready to move on. Why make a new system that's going to do that?
And if you're going to make a new system with something as different as 3D, release it as something else.
Exactly.
You know, I think if they created something new, something different, and it's 3D, suddenly it's like, whoa, mind blown. You know, you really got something on your hands there then.
Exactly. Now, I think the PlayStation Vita, these I feel bad for Sony. They're just not having. They've had like the worst progression as a company in the past few months to years even. I personally don't own a Vita. I would love to own a Vita. There's no games out there that make you want to buy a Vita, unfortunately, but it looks cool. It feels great. The games that I have played on demo kiosks have been really unique and fun. And the features are really what I wanted out of a 3DS. In terms of just that crisp and clean aspect of it. At least it feels like a new system. It doesn't feel like a PSP. It feels like a controller that's with me. I really dug it, and I really dig what it does and what people think of it. But the problem is, no good launch titles. And
I think no good launch titles, and
okay,
it's like an iPhone with controls, but it's not a phone. It doesn't do everything. It does almost everything.
well, let me just say,
And I think until somebody creates something that does everything, that's when it's going to be amazing, which is why I'm actually kind of excited that Sony announced that they're going to work with HTC to create a phone. The Xperia didn't really take off because Sony phones aren't their market.
yeah.
HTC, they know how to make smartphones. So if they can do something to create a gaming smartphone, I think that's going to be where it's at if it works.
I think I did flub a little bit. I said there was no launch titles. That may not be true. There were some launch titles for the Vita. The new Uncharted game was a pretty good launch title. And for me, as a traditional gamer as I am, I probably would have bought Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for the PS Vita. But the reason why I didn't was because I have it for my PS3, or my Xbox or whatever it is. And I think that having one AAA launch title isn't necessarily a good decision to make when you don't have enough third-party support to go with it. When we all bought our Wiis, the first game that most of us bought was Twilight Princess. And after we beat it, 3 days later, we went back to the store and tried buying other third-party stuff. And luckily, there was enough for us there to keep us entertained. You know, Rayman Raving Rabbids. What else was there? I think there was some... No, not yet. There was... I'm trying to think of other... I mean, Wii Sports alone was enough to keep us entertained for our families.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Totally awesome.
that kind of integration of playing with others and the way you were playing with the Wii was revolutionary at the time. But it got old very quick, and Nintendo realized that, and they kept capitalizing off of that with newer first-party titles that would eventually get boring for us hardcore fans, but for the casual gamer, it was perfect.
Yeah.
But anyway,
with portable gaming, I know that as a kid, the only reason why I had a portable gaming system was so my parents didn't see exactly how many hours I was spending playing video games. You know, I could hide in my room and, oh, he's probably playing something because I wasn't sitting in front of the TV.
yeah.
But now, me being, you know, I've graduated college, I live on my own, I don't see the pull of owning a watered-down PS3. I have the PS3. Sony did an amazing job creating the PS3. It's such an amazing system. I would rather sit down and play that. But
It's kind of... it's
and I travel a lot, too. I travel all over the world, but I don't... maybe it's just me, but I used to love portable gaming. I had all those Game Boys. I got the PSP when it first came out, before it came out. But, yeah.
You got the PSP before it? Oh, that's right, because your friend got it from a different country.
Yeah.
You know, the PS Vita has sold so far in this quarter about 1.8 million units total. That's pretty bad for a company, let alone
The first quarter.
For the first quarter, 1.8 million. Actually, I mean that's actually not for the first. That's total units so far. And
It's out that long though.
it's been out since... Actually, it's only been out for a few months now that I think about it. It didn't make the holiday season. It's been out since around January of this year, I think. The release date was February 22nd, so it hasn't been out that long. So maybe
for less than half a year.
Yeah, so maybe it's not that bad, but maybe they can turn around for Nintendo. But they did the bold move of doing the different price points for 3G, non-3G, and starting it out with, I think it's 300 to 400. No, that might be wrong.
Somebody in the chat here, Death Knight 11, brings up a good point, because he was saying that he's always dreamt of a Pokemon's console game. And the reason why they never did that is because they wanted to sell handheld gaming. Now they don't have a game that pushes people to drive, other than Pokemon. I mean, people still play that on the DS, but not in nearly as many numbers as they used to. They need to have that, awesome game that makes you want to play it all the time. So if you can take it with you, sweet.
Before our commercial break, we were diving into Apple and the iPod and how it affected almost what I think may be the end of portable gaming. And the biggest thing, and Greg, you touched on it earlier, was the fact that you can get apps for free, apps for $1, apps for $15.
You can get games for free.
Games.
It all translates to the same thing.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that this game right here, this is Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS. This right here cost $40. $40. Angry Birds, free, without ad support, 15, 10, 5, whenever you bought it. The point is that younger kids or people who don't really game necessarily are literally controlling the market of casual gaming with this, and kind of have forced, in my opinion, all of these other people to create the touch screens and the other stuff to compete with it. And what we have is a bunch of third-party and first-party developers creating games that aren't necessarily worth the $40, $30 price tag. And we as gamers are furious about it. It obviously reflects in the sales, and it actually, in my opinion, this may be the end of portable gaming as we know it. And I don't want it to be.
It feels like stuff is getting gimmicky. You can put a touch thing on this, you can put, the 3D, and now it's got a camera in it. But how many years have we gone where you got your A, B, your D-pad, start and select? And then you add in, you got your trigger controls and stuff. But for some reason we took a crazy-ass turn where everybody assumes that you got to have this stuff, and then you gotta have an antenna that's coming out of the side, and it shoots lasers, so when you're playing it, the lasers are shooting like you're actually shooting in the game. You don't need that. You just need your buttons, a screen, and 14 hours straight.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that when you're on vacation and stuff like that, or you're out somewhere, you're not going to sit down and be like, alright, I think I'm going to play, a 15, 20 hour, 30 hour game. If you've got time to play Pokemon on the DS, you'll put time to play Pokemon on the DS. But if you're out somewhere, you just want something quick, and that's what the iPhone does, and that's the unfortunate truth of what it is. So,
yep.
With that in mind,
maybe we should take some callers.
We're going to take some phone calls. We got three audience members who answered some awesome questions before we started, and they are here now with us. Our first caller, his name on Skype for us all is James Tiberius Kirk.
Welcome, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, welcome to the show.
Hello.
You sound just like Captain Kirk.
That was the best impression of Captain Kirk I've ever heard.
Impression? Wait, are you not actually Captain Kirk?
Oh, I ruined the immersion, Greg. I'm so sorry.
You ruined it for Greg.
I ruined it for Greg.
Come on, Gerard.
I'm sorry.
You deceiver.
I'm so sorry. I know me.
All right, so Captain Kirk, what's your opinion on the state of portable gaming? What do you think? Is it the end? Is it just the beginning? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's like we're in that declining state. Like it is the end. Like it's coming to the end. But the iPhone is keeping it alive. That's really the main reason. Everything else, like the sales are declining a lot. Obviously, people are buying the older systems instead of the newer ones because they're more expensive. and they're basically rehashed designs instead of like, but with added features. And but like the iPhone, as you said, you could buy free games, you could buy cheap like $2 games, delete it within 35 seconds, as you said. But
And there's almost no game guilt either. It's like, oh, I spent $1, the game sucked.
Exactly.
I don't care.
yeah, that's another thing. Like that, and as also you said, I believe it was Gerard, gaming companies are no longer making games for like the, the making people like happy or making people like immersed within the game. They're just making it, hey, we're gonna make this game, we're gonna make like $1 million instantly.
Right, yeah.
It's not gonna happen like that.
It's the money thing. I mean, everybody's always out to make money. Everybody
yes.
makes money. But it feels like it's really changed more into, it's the quick buck. There's where your money is. It's not story, It's not the fun stuff. The things that games should be about. Why we all fell in love with games.
I mean, it's all about the adventure and how you relate to the adventure. And I have a hard time believing that I'm going to get a good 40-hour adventure out of this screen right here on the go somewhere. Whereas I feel like if I'm, you know what I mean? It's just it feels weird. There's something about the Greg. You said it yourself. Something about the buttons that just makes it that much better.
And it's your phone. That's your real world device. You use that to call, you use that to talk to people, you use that to check your Facebook and your emails. It's your business thing. It's not your gaming thing. I think that's the problem is, I was talking about they need everything in one, but you got to have it separate, but it doesn't work anymore like that. That's not the way people work. So it's kind of like the end or some maybe beginning of something else.
I think that's what Nintendo tried to do with the Wii U. I think it's smart. I think I played the Wii U at E3. It was great, and I think it's what's going to lead them into gaming this year. Is that it bridged the gap between hardcore and the casual with that touchscreen and everything. I really think Nintendo may be getting it. They may be getting it. I hope for their sake because I love Nintendo games, but let's just hope. Let's just hope.
That would be nice. Feels like a gimmick, but that would be nice.
It feels like a gimmick, but at the same time, it's not really. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
See when it comes out. All right, Captain Kirk, any last thoughts?
No.
How anticlimactic, Captain Kirk. I was hoping you'd say beat me up or something like that.
Yeah, or little Star Trek. I think this is the Star Trek symbol. I'm not very... Is that just... It is.
Well, I can't really do it because I don't have my video up and I don't want to mess up.
That's true. Long live and prosper. That's what they do.
Long live and prosper.
Long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You've just pissed off so many Star Trek
Live
fans.
and learn Sonic Adventure 2. That's...
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Captain Kirk.
Have a good night, Captain Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Now, this gentleman is the 16-bit hero. He actually has a YouTube channel where he does reviews, kind of like JonTron AVGN mix. He actually does them really well. He does them in Spanish, so that's like his primary target, which I actually really enjoy. I don't understand the humor, but it's really well edited. I really appreciate there are subtitles.
You don't understand the humor or the language.
But 16-bit hero, thank you for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Hey man, what's up?
Not much.
Yeah.
So what is your personal take on the future of gaming? Is it the portable gaming? Is it going to end? Is it going to come back and do well for us, or what do you think? What's going to happen?
Well, I was thinking about that for like a month or something, and I'm really worried. I mean, the first portable console that I had was the Game Boy Color, and I played their Pokemon Gold. Man, I love that game. That game's awesome. And then I realized, the Game Boy Advance, it had the other Pokemon games, Golden Sun, and
Awesome
Fire
game.
Emblem, many others. Mother 3, well, that's not here, but that's not the point. The point is, there were so many awesome games, and that's the point of the portable consoles. Just play the game. And nowadays, with the iPhone, the iPad, and all the stuff, and yeah, you can just get the game for like $1 and play it. Wow, this game sucks, and just eliminate it, and that's it. But well, I'm not that much into the Wii U with all that stuff that they put in there, like the beta. I don't really like all the now you can control your TV, or now with the PSP you can control your PS3.
Right. You want a controller where you can play the game
Yeah,
because it's a video game.
yeah, and that's it. Like, dude, I already have like 2 controllers. Why do I need another one?
I'm a huge music fan, and I buy a bunch of records because I just like the experience of listening to a record. It'll be interesting to see if there's a shift soon, or maybe like 10 years in the future, where people are like, hey, you know what? NES is where it's at, and they'll start making games for the NES again. I just think that would be so interesting. It could happen. Well, you know what? When we were at E3, we saw that it was the Super NES, the miniature one, right? What was that called?
The Super Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't you heard some people they're actually making an SNES game?
Yeah, oh man, I wanted to buy it, but the pre-order sold out instantly. It was $50 for a brand new Super Nintendo game, original IP. I wanted to get on board with the Kickstarter. I forgot to, and then pre-orders went out and the game disappeared. It looked really interesting. It looked like a good platformer. Our third caller, he goes by the pseudonym of Spider Knife, which actually sounds kind of terrifying. I now have an image of a spider with knives for legs. It sounds awful. Spider Knife, welcome to the show.
Hi. Sorry to be so intimidating.
Well, I believe isn't Spider a pocket knife company?
Well,
I believe it is.
I know personally, but
and
my own
that's funny that you don't even know that.
My own identity. I hope it doesn't go into any copyright issues, but
probably we have to tank this whole podcast.
Shit,
now.
I'll leave. Nice to know it. Nice to speak with you. Bye.
Spider Knife, where are you from? You got that accent. I gotta figure it out.
Well, at the moment I am in England, but I am half Polish.
Awesome.
So that could be it. There you go.
All right, Spider Knife. What do you think? What is your personal take on the future of gaming? Portable gaming.
Portable.
I did it twice. Portable gaming.
So vague. No, I don't know. I do agree with you that I don't know where it's heading next. I mean, with myself and my experience, portable gaming, I rely with my iPhone. I don't have anything from any of the big companies, any portable, the only ones.
Did you at one time? Were you ever into that?
Yeah, I was just getting to that. Sorry, the last one I did have was a Game Boy Advance, and I had that because I was so in love with the Game Boy and in love with Pokemon that pretty much the only reason I bought that was so I could play Ruby. And
yeah. See, there you go. That's back to they had a game that people bought the system for, and you don't regret that, right?
No, not at all.
You had fun. It's not like you were buying a game that you had already played, like with the 3DS. You want to get the Ocarina of Time, you want to get Star Fox 64, but it's not on 64.
I was just thinking the only other, I guess, big character which is staying on the portable with Nintendo, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is probably Kid Icarus. Is because people are saying, oh yeah, that'd be cool if that got like reinvented onto like the Nintendo, but it's, onto their Wii. But it's not. It's just staying the 3DS. And like, even when you see the adverts, you're like, they're like, it's beautiful. And you kind of think, oh, is there now a Wii edition one of it? But it's just like, oh no, and then all of a sudden it just goes to that, like, only the capabilities of what 3DS is capable of, which are impressive. But I mean, I am the same with like what they have now with the whole 3D aspect. It's not important. It's like they just forget that it's about the game.
Right. They're just throwing in the gimmicks.
I mean, geez, we had Tetris. I mean, you could say, yeah, we were in the dark ages, quote unquote, of like gaming. But even people to this day, even if you're in a desert island, I mean, I was watching ThatOneVideoGamer just yesterday, and when you had this thing about what games would you take on a desert island, Tetris. When he says Tetris should be one of them, it's true. It's just like it lasts forever. I mean, but it's what you would play in the first few seconds, and what you'll play in a minute, 10 minutes, an hour, it's gonna for the rest of your life, it's gonna be exactly the same. Nothing changed. You know? It makes us feel like we're so simple, just like, yeah, I'm gonna play Tetris again. It's like, but what really? It's just like, yeah, because if you like the game,
One thing that Nintendo has always been good at is staying with what works for them. I call it the play it safe syndrome for Nintendo, where they will never think outside the box in regards to they're always going to make money in their portables. They're always the Marios. I'll buy a 3DS for Mario. The carts, I'll do that too. But I think eventually
there's going to be a point where they're going to lose all concept of their casual gamer.
And
they're going to have the devoted fans that need to have that game. They want to play that game, but there's people like me who it's just not worth it to me anymore. I'm not going to spend $250 just to see Mario on a little screen.
Yeah.
But if it's an amazing game and the story's really cool and it's really engaging, or it's just something completely different that's never been seen, maybe I'll buy it.
All right, guys. So I think that just wraps out the show for this evening. Please let us know what your thoughts are, either in the comments below or in the stream chat that's actually going on right now. We're going to have a post chat afterwards just to kind of talk about what your guys' opinions all are.
And then all you people watching on YouTube, you can keep the conversation going throughout the week. You can hit Gerard up on Twitter at his handle, which is
JK Completes It.
And you can even talk to me about it at McSquaresville. We'll put little linky things down there so you can see them. But yeah, we want this to be a conversation where you guys can join in and we can maybe figure out, is this the end of portable gaming?
Yeah, and also don't feel free to reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr too. But that's why we have these things set up. It's not to spread the show. I mean, yeah, it is, but we want to talk to you guys. That's the whole point. We want to know what your opinions are on games and where you think the industry's going. And most importantly, you guys are the consumers just like we are. So we want to know, hey, what do you guys think? So I think that just wraps it up for today's show.
So thank you for joining us for
guys.
Our first official episode of DLC.
We're going to be filming another episode of DLC next week. I believe it's going to be a week from today, so Sunday next week. Times will be appearing in links of some form on the screen right now.
And they may change.
They may change. That's the best way to find out about the show and how times are changed. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and also subscribe to our Twitch account, which is twitch.tv/ThatOneVideoGerard. Please make sure that you do that. That way you'll be on top of it when we do that. This will be available at some point, too, on iTunes and as well. So, guys, thank you so much. I am the Completionist. That's Greg Wilmot.
That's me.
And now we're going to show you guys.
I do stuff.
And now for something totally different.